A Fox News alert as we watch Hurricane Matthew bear down on the southern coast of the United States. It's now a Category 4 storm. We just heard that from the National Hurricane Center. The director of the National Hurricane Center, Dr. Rick Knabb, is our guest now. Rick, some needed perspective for us. We don't want to spark unnecessary fear, but we want to give our viewers some really good information. What's the best way that you can describe the danger associated with the storm?
Well, we want people to take necessary actions to protect themselves. There's no reason why people should lose their lives if they follow the instructions from local officials who are telling them to evacuate from coastal areas vulnerable to storm surge or from any areas on land in which they're in a mobile home or other structure that's vulnerable to wind. So this is not just coastal, it's inland, not just about wind, it's about water, including from the sky where we could have inland flooding caused by heavy rainfall. So we want people to be afraid enough to take action to keep themselves safe. That's how I've been approaching this.
Now, because we just learned it's a Category 4, can you describe to us what makes a storm a Category 4 versus a 3 versus a 2 versus a 1?
Has to do with our Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale. It's totally dependent upon what the maximum sustained winds are. They're now 140 miles per hour. That makes it Category 4. If you saw 160 on here, it would be Category 5, for example.
Is there any chance of that, Rick? I'm sorry to interrupt.
Sure, you can never rule out what major hurricanes are going to do in terms of doing their ups and downs, and don't be surprised if there are ups and downs, but the bottom line is we're forecasting a major hurricane, Category 4, to come very close to, if not onshore, in Florida in the hurricane warning area as early as tonight. But even if the center of circulation stays offshore, and even if the maximum winds are over the ocean, you can still get very dangerous and damaging hurricane force winds on land in penetrating some distance inland with tropical storm conditions as well. And then you can get the devastating storm surge in the immediate coastal areas, and you can get inland flooding due to heavy rainfall. And I want people to realize, especially if you're new to the hurricane problem, that 9 out of 10 fatalities historically in landfalling tropical systems in the U.S. have been due to water, storm surge or inland flooding. The winds are going to be dangerous here too, but don't forget about the water.
Yeah, that's such good advice for us. What makes this storm unique based on the other storms that you've covered in the past?
You know, every storm has its own unique DNA and characteristics, and Matthew is following a really awful track for so many people. You know, there are 1.5 million people thereabouts in the state of Florida alone that are under evacuation instructions of some kind for storm surge or being in a mobile home. Similarly, up in Georgia and South Carolina. And so, you know, the farther north you are, the more time you have to make preparations and get into a safe place to ride out the storm. But this is going to affect a lot of people with multiple hazards, coastal and inland, both wind and water. And this is an extremely dangerous situation. Let's do everything we can to eliminate or minimize the loss of life.
Rick, some excellent advice for us. I know you're busy there at the National Hurricane Center. Thank you very much, Dr. Rick Knabb, with a sobering warning for everyone in Florida and all the more reason to pay attention to this storm today.